So you ask, how will this conflict end if this peace process has been going on for 40 years and producing greater and greater death and mayhem? So if it's not going to end this way, then how will it end? So first, some conflicts don't end. Okay, so like how does the conflict between Shiites and Sunni Muslims end? Okay, it doesn't end. It's inherent. Or the conflict between Christianity and Islam, or the conflict between left and right. Okay, so we have a problem in the secular West that we treat conflict as an anomaly, when in fact conflict is often normal and inherent and persistent and simply a feature of life. But to your question, how could the conflict end? Okay, so many in the negotiating circles, diplomatic circles, in the kind of peace business, suggest that the problem with the Arab-Israeli conflict is that the two sides have different histories. Okay, the Jews tell one history, the Arabs tell a different history. They don't match, and because of this, so the argument goes, there's this misunderstanding and short-circuiting, and that's why there's conflict, because the different peoples understand the situation differently because they have conflicting histories. And therefore, when one side will accept the history of the other, then there'll be peace. Okay, so the argument goes is that the real war is who will last longer, whose side history will become the accepted history. Okay, and so when the Arabs accept the Jews when the Arabs accept the Jewish history, that the Jews are indigenous, then they will accept them as a presence in the area and accept the existence of a Jewish state in the Middle East. Or conversely, when the Jews accept the Arabs' history that portrays the Jews as not indigenous to the Middle East, but crusaders, invaders, colonists, when the Jews accept that history, then they will pack up and leave because they don't belong there, and the conflict will be over that way. So obviously, first of all, I don't think that those things happen, that people just accept other people's histories. But I deny that is possible. To me, the conflict can end only if the Arabs win a war and through that victory eradicate the Jewish state. And without a Jewish state, there will be no conflict. Okay? An Arab victory in a war will end the conflict because it will eliminate the Jewish state. But as long as there's a Jewish state in the heart of the Arab Middle East, there will be conflict there between Arabs and Jews. Okay? So think of it this way. For over 1,000 years, Arab imperialism spread the Arabs' culture from the Arabian Peninsula to dominate this entire region. Okay? Arab imperialism established Arabic as the language of the entire Middle East and North Africa, instead of the mix of languages that preceded it. It established the Arab religion as the religion of the Middle East, again, stretching from West Africa to India. It established, so again, it took an Arabian, the religion of the Arabian Peninsula and expanded it throughout this huge region, instead of the mix of religions that preceded it. Um, it helped the Arabs themselves also spread throughout this region. Arabs came from Arabia, but now Arabs are something like 90+% of the Middle East and North Africa. Okay, so the Arab language preceded the preceding language, the language that existed there previously. The Arab religion replaced the religions that existed there previously. The Arab people replaced the people who existed there previously. And then there's Israel. Israel is the only country in the entire region where Muslims are currently in the minority, where Arabic is not the dominant and ruling language, where the Arab population's culture and religion are in the minority or in a subordinate position in the general culture. So from the Arab perspective, this is a world turned upside down. Okay, the situation that Arabs endure in Israel is offensive and senseless and unnatural. Okay, and it's offensive not just to them, but to Arabs generally. Okay, because Israel is the greatest stumbling block that this Arab colonial project has faced since the Crusades. Okay, and the best illustration of this is Israeli Arabs. Okay? The Israeli Arab population is well off by any metric. Okay? It's the best educated in the Middle East, one of the wealthiest, and one of the safest and healthiest. And it's grown from 600,000 in 1990 to roughly 2 million today. Represents 20%, a little bit more, of the total population. But they're not in charge politically, culturally, or religiously, which is an experience that no Arab in this region has to endure. Okay? It's an experience that no Arab in this region has endured for over 1,000 years. Okay? So it's offensive and humiliating to them, even though materially speaking, they live better lives than almost any other populations in the region. Okay, and this is why the Arabs of Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip did not speak about independence and did not yearn for independence between 1948 and 1967, when they were ruled by Jordan and Egypt, who conquered these territories when Britain left in 1948. So during those 19 years, during the 19 years between the end of the British presence and the beginning of the Israeli presence in the West Bank and Gaza, those Palestinians did not demand to be part of the future Palestinian state. Okay, the Palestinians envisioned the idea that the West Bank and Gaza would be part of the future Palestinian state came into being only after they were captured by Israel. Okay? The Arabs of Judea and Samaria and Gaza were fine with not having their own state as long as they were not ruled by Jews. Okay? And you can see this logic, that the problem is the existence of a Jewish state in which Jews have sovereignty. You can see this if you consider every documentary you've seen about tension and conflict between Arabs and Jews. Okay? All of them were shot in Israel. Okay? Israel is the only place where you can film this kind of documentary about the interaction of Jews and Arabs, because Israel is the only place in the Middle East where Arabs and Jews live together and actually interact. Elsewhere in the Middle East, there's no tension between Arabs and Jews because there are no Jews. okay, in Cairo, Damascus, Ramallah, okay, where there are no Jews, there is no tension and conflict between Arabs and Jews. Um, and which indicates that as long as there's a Jewish state in the heart of the Middle East, there'll be conflict between Arabs and Jews in the Middle East. Okay. And Arabs are never shy about saying this. Okay. But we refuse to listen because if we do, we would have to drop this two-state solution fantasy that we've been hawking for over 100 years. And we'd be forced to just let this conflict play itself out, as we do with virtually every other conflict in the world. And so the important question is not how the conflict will end, but whether our solutions to the conflict are based on truth or fiction. Our solution, the two-state solution, has been based on a fiction. The fiction that, according to some sort of formula, the Arab world, the Muslim world, will accept a Jewish state in the heart of the Middle East. Okay. And because this solution was based on a fiction, it's failed and failed and failed and produced greater and greater death and destruction. Okay. So journalists and experts on this conflict often say that they look at the current state, whenever it is they're talking, and they're saying that trust is now at its lowest between Israelis and Palestinians, and that's a real problem for finding a resolution to this conflict. My sense is that it's exactly the opposite. Trust is now at its highest because following October 7th and the celebrations throughout the Arab and Muslim world of the October 7th attacks, Israelis now finally have started listening to Arabs and believing what Arabs themselves are saying, rather than listening to and believing Western policymakers and Western experts and journalists and their understanding of Arab sensibilities. And so now, at least, so it used to be that Israeli negotiators and Israeli citizens got their information about the Arab world from Western experts about Arabs. And therefore, they internalized the false belief that the Arabs will accept a Jewish state in the heart of the Middle East. And that was the basis of various schemes to solve this problem. Even though Arabs themselves have said throughout that they will never accept a Jewish state in the heart of the Middle East. And so I think finally Jews in Israel are listening to Arabs rather than listening to Western experts explaining Arabs. Thank you.